The second Republican presidential debate took place last night in California. Brought a huge crowd to CNN. They're estimating viewership of over 20 million people when the numbers finally settle down. We're going to find out what two key analysts from Syracuse University think of the performances last night. Jenny Stromer-Galley is from the Syracuse University iSchool, and Spencer Piston is from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs. First of all, who were the winners last night? 11 candidates, including Donald Trump and everybody else.
Well, of the electorally viable candidates, I think the winners were Carly Fiorina and Marco Rubio. What do you think, Jenny?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Fiorina, she had a huge opportunity being on that stage to really demonstrate that she had competency, and more than competency, that she had mastery of the issues. And her stance on foreign policy was very clear, really strongly articulated. The other highlight for her, I think, was her very passionate, not emotional, but kind of passionate expression of her feelings about abortion and banning Planned Parenthood and funding for Planned Parenthood. So she came across as somebody who is competent, who is a leader, which is exactly what she needed to do in this debate. She did a great job with that.
The first time around on the Fox debate about 6 weeks ago, she was limited to the pre-show, or the happy hour debate, as they're calling it. Does that serve a purpose, where the also-rans? It earned her a shot at the main stage this time.
Yeah, well, as we were talking about a little before, Jenny, can serve the purpose of, as you say, free publicity for people on the undercard.
Yeah, publicity, and at least, for those who really are passionate about politics, there are a few of us out there who really are political junkies. That discussion among the four candidates was much more policy-focused than the big kids debate was, and it really did show some noteworthy differences within the Republican Party on some important policy issues. So freedom of speech and expression, I think, were issues, whether or not we should do more militarily in dealing with ISIS. So while it didn't, I don't know if it really ultimately helps any of those candidates, it does continue to push a policy discussion that is really important right now within the Republican Party.
You say it gained publicity for on the undercard. Is that what these campaigns are all about? Because obviously there's going to be one Republican candidate in the end. Why is George Pataki involved?
Yeah, so at the moment, the majority of Americans don't know the names of most of the candidates at this point, and the majority of Americans were not even watching the debate last night. So the idea is to energize the base. So who can do that most effectively? Right. Well, the base of the Republican Party is dominated by white people. And white people think, not exclusively, but a dominant feature of their political thinking has to do with fear and anger with respect to racial, religious, and ethnic others. Muslims, blacks, Latinos, and Latinas. So the question is, which candidate they all have an incentive to appeal to these racial fears. But who's going to do it? And I think Fiorina and Rubio effectively tapped into white negative perceptions of racial, ethnic, and religious minorities last night. And
we talked a little bit earlier in the show about the young man in Irving, Texas that was arrested because he brought his homemade clock to school and people were afraid it was a bomb. He was Arabic heritage. You see a clear tie between what you're talking about and that incident.
So there's a 14-year-old boy, bespectacled, skinny, geeky kid in a NASA shirt who makes a clock that looks like nothing like a bomb. And yet 5 police officers show up, handcuff him, detain him, fingerprint him, take mug shots, put him in a juvenile detention center. This is not an aberration. This is illustrative of white public opinion in the United States. Majorities of white Americans routinely say that black people are lazier than white people are. Many of them say that Muslims are less evolved than Christians, that black people are less evolved than white people. So this fear and this anger is bound up with the perception that blacks, that Muslims, that Latinos and Latinas are actually a lower life form.
Jenny, you looked at social media use in the thing very briefly. Talk a little bit about how the candidates are using social media this time around.
Right. Well, so campaigns are using social media as another mechanism to try to increase publicity and get their name out there, because you're right, nobody knows these names yet except for Donald Trump, which is why he's doing so well in the polls, at least partially. And so, the campaigns are using social media to try to amplify their message, especially around debates. And so one of the things that is interesting when you look at Facebook likes and Facebook shares is that, you know, the most kind of energized, or the candidate with the most energy around them right now on social media looks to be like Ben Carson. And so, in fact, a couple of his posts were widely shared, much more than Trump. But if you look at the candidates in terms of the ones that are the front runners, so Trump, Carson, etc., they were much less active than those candidates who have very little support.
They have a lot less to lose.
They have a lot less to lose. They're really using social actively.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be back with more Bridge Street right after this.
Thanks.
Thank you.